Third story. The Lost Marriage Part 1. Conversation by the pool. The palms rustled in the wind, and in that whisper was the promise of eternal summer, the kind sold in glossy magazines, one that never ends if you have enough money. Alex Dobrodrug lounged in a deck chair by the pool, sipping a non-alcoholic mojito and idly watching the hotel guests. He had over $200,000, 10 days of legitimate vacation, and a firm intention to do absolutely nothing. He had chosen the hotel deliberately. It was the sort of place where people stayed for whom economy existed only in dictionaries, as an archaism. Old money, new money, very old money, all mingled here in a whimsical cocktail of expensive clothes, unobtrusive service, and hushed conversations. Waiters wore gloves, guests spoke so softly you had to strain to hear, and every other dialogue sounded like a script for a film about the rich and famous. Alex checked in under his real name. After all, no one vetted guests who just wanted to relax. He grew a light stubble, bought a couple of linen suits, and felt almost at home among these people. Almost, because the truly at home never feel that way. They simply exist. On the third day of his vacation, what always happens when you try to do nothing occurred. Alex was just about to dive into the pool to wash off the sticky sweat of the southern sun when he overheard a conversation. He wasn't eavesdropping. The neighboring deck chairs were separated only by a hedge of flowering bushes, and the woman spoke loudly enough to be heard not just by her companions, but probably by the seagulls at the far end of the beach. "I'm telling him. Richard, either you fire that secretary of yours, or I'm going to my mother's," and he says. "Darling, she's been working with me for 20 years, Karen. Can you imagine? I've been with him for 5, and she's been there 20. And who, pray tell, is more important?" "You are, of course," replied the second voice, lazy and slightly mocking. "But you know men. They're like dogs. They get attached to old slippers and don't want to change them, even if they're full of holes." "My mother-in-law is an old slipper too," interjected the third voice, the youngest and most resonant. "Imagine, she showed up at my house yesterday uninvited and started rearranging the furniture in the living room. I nearly had a heart attack. I say, 'Marilyn, this is my home,' and she, 'Darling, this is my son's home, and you're just—' 'Well, you know, just a temporary fixture,' snorted the first. Classic. "Listen, girls, let's go see that. What's his name? The one who performs in the lounge bar on Tuesdays. I heard he reads minds amazingly." "That's not mind reading, it's cold reading," said the second, the one who'd compared secretaries to slippers. "I went to a session like that last year. He told me I'd had a difficult divorce and needed to let go of the past. $2,000 for what he read on my face. Any taxi driver would say it cheaper." "Jessica, you always ruin everything with your skepticism," the first pouted. "Sometimes you just want a bit of magic. Even if it's fake. Then buy yourself an inflatable unicorn," Jessica smirked. "Cheaper and more useful." Alex smiled into his mojito. He definitely liked Jessica. Of the three, she was the only one keeping a level head in this paradise for idle millionairesses. He glanced briefly through the hibiscus branches. 3 women in expensive swimsuits, 3 deck chairs with cocktails, 3 pairs of sunglasses from Prada and Gucci. A typical day for typical rich wives of typical rich husbands who earned enough so their wives could discuss secretaries and mothers-in-law by the pool instead of sitting in an office. He was about to turn away and finally dive into the pool when the conversation took an unexpected turn. "Have you heard about Sarah?" the young one asked, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper that carried even better than normal speech. "The one in the suite on the 5th floor? The one whose husband disappeared?" The first perked up. "Of course we've heard. The whole hotel's talking about it. He left on a business trip a week ago and hasn't returned. The police are looking, but nothing yet." And I heard, the young one continued mysteriously, that he didn't disappear. He ran off. With a mistress. And took all the money. Jessica objected. Come on. They have so much money that running off with a mistress would be like trading a Rolls-Royce for a Honda, no point. And I heard another version, the first chimed in. That he was killed. By business rivals. He traded in something, weapons or drugs, I didn't pry. Linda, you always dramatize everything, Jessica sighed. The man just went on business and got delayed. Sarah told me herself he often does that. His business is all over the country. When was that? Asked the young one. The day before yesterday. We met in the spa, got talking. She's holding up well, but you can tell she's worried. Red eyes, though she tries to smile. Alex pricked up his ears. Not because he planned to get involved, he was on vacation, damn it, but because the psychologist in him never slept. The story sounded banal. Rich husband, sudden disappearance, wife alone in the hotel. Endless possibilities, from real crime to the husband's simple desire for a new life. But there was something in Jessica's voice when she spoke of Sarah. A note Alex couldn't identify. Sympathy? Yes. But something else. Caution? Doubt? Are you close with her? He asked, surprising even himself by interrupting. Silence fell instantly beyond the hedge. Alex mentally cursed himself, idiot, butting in where he wasn't asked. Now he'd have to explain. Sorry, ladies, he said louder, sitting up in his chair. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but you were speaking rather energetically. And I'm a psychologist. Professional habit, I can't ignore an interesting story. A pause. Then the hibiscus branches parted, revealing a head in a wide-brimmed straw hat. The woman named Jessica looked at him curiously. You're a psychologist? For real? Unfortunately, yes, Alex smiled. But I'm on vacation. I promise not to diagnose anyone here. I just heard familiar intonations. What intonations? Jessica lifted her glasses, and Alex saw intelligent, slightly mocking eyes. About 45, well-groomed but without the frozen look of plastic surgery, with a lively face and clearly a sharp tongue. The intonations of someone talking about a friend but thinking of something else, Alex said. You mentioned Sarah, and there was something in your voice. I'm not sure I can explain. But it seemed you know more than you're saying. Jessica blinked. Then, to Alex's surprise, she laughed. You really are a psychologist, she said. All right, come out of your trench and join us. We've been gossiping for an hour anyway, here's some intellectual variety. A minute later, Alex sat beside their chairs, sipping his mojito and getting acquainted. Linda, the one advising her husband to fire the secretary, turned out to own a chain of fashion salons, temporarily left to managers to save her marriage. The young one was Christy, 28, married to a financier twice her age who, by her account, still couldn't tell Prada from Prada line. And Jessica. Jessica was a divorce lawyer. That explained a lot. Sarah Morgan, Jessica said as the waiter brought Alex a fresh drink. Her husband, Robert Morgan, vanished 8 days ago. Left on business and disappeared. Their business is big, chain of car dealerships. Worth around $300 million. Police got involved right away, but nothing so far. Are you helping her? As a lawyer? Alex asked. No. Jessica hesitated. We're just acquaintances from the hotel. I've been here 3 weeks, divorcing my third husband. Sarah came with her husband for the weekend, he left and didn't return. We chatted by chance in the spa, and I don't know. There's something about her. Vulnerable. Though she's clearly not the vulnerable type. Do you think she's lying? Alex asked bluntly. Linda and Christy gasped in unison. Jessica looked at Alex with fresh interest. Why do you think that? Because you're a lawyer, Alex shrugged. It's your job to spot lies from a mile away. And if you say something about her bothers you, then it does. You just can't articulate it yet. Jessica was silent for a long time, sipping her cocktail. Linda and Christy exchanged glances, clearly disappointed the conversation had veered off. They'd expected light gossip, not psychoanalysis. You know, Jessica said at last, I've seen many women in her situation. Those whose husbands vanished. Whose husbands died. Whose husbands ran off with mistresses. They all share one thing, shock. Real, physical shock. Sarah doesn't have that shock. She's upset, yes. She cries. But those aren't tears of loss. They're. I don't know. Tears of fear? Fear of what? That the truth will come out, Jessica said quietly. I think she knows where her husband is. Or what happened to him. And she's afraid it'll be discovered. Whoa, Christy breathed. You think she killed him? I don't think anything, Jessica cut her off. I'm just a lawyer who sees inconsistencies. What do you think, doctor? The doctor carried a light mockery, but Alex caught genuine interest in it. I think, he said slowly, that if a woman fears not the loss of her husband but the truth emerging, she has something to hide. The question is what? And mainly, does she want that hidden thing to stay hidden, or is she looking for a way to tell it all but fears the consequences? Complicated, Linda grimaced. Can you say it simpler? Sure, Alex smiled. Simpler. Sarah's like a time bomb now. Either she'll explode herself or blow someone up. And if she has any conscience, she's seeking someone to help defuse it without casualties. And you think that someone is you? Jessica narrowed her eyes. I think, Alex finished his mojito and stood, that if your friend wants to talk to someone who won't judge her and won't run to the police, let her know. There's a psychologist on vacation in the hotel who loves complex puzzles. Alex Dobrodrug. I'm in chair 27 in the mornings and at the bar in the evenings. Now, excuse me, 3 days of idleness are catching up, and my body craves the ocean. He smiled, nodded, and headed to the beach, leaving the 3 women staring after him. He's weird, said Christy. He's interesting, Jessica corrected. Very interesting.